My husband had been in the ground less than 2 hours when my mother-in-law leaned close and whispered, "That house belongs to my family now." I was still holding the folded flag. At Arlington, the wind moved through the trees and over the rows of white stone, while soldiers in dress blues stood perfectly still. My husband, Colonel Daniel Mercer, had been buried with more honor than most men earn. When a young soldier placed the flag into my hands, his voice caught on the words, "On behalf of a grateful nation," and I could only nod. Daniel would have hated a scene. He polished his coffee mug before bed, shined his shoes after retirement, and believed you could judge a person by how they treated waiters and janitors. So when Vivian Mercer stepped beside me by the funeral car, pearls bright against her dark coat, I didn't flinch. She looked at the flag as if it were paperwork. "We need to be practical," she murmured. I thought she meant flowers, bills, relatives. Then she leaned in and said, "That house belongs to my family now. So does the company." I stared at the loose thread on her sleeve. Behind her, Daniel's friend was talking softly to someone from the church. My sister was loading lilies into a trunk. Nobody heard Vivian's claim but me. I could have shouted. Instead, I tightened my grip on the flag and said, "Not today." She smiled like she had already won. That evening, the house felt too large. Daniel's reading glasses sat beside his recliner. His half-finished crossword waited on the kitchen table next to a cold cup of coffee I couldn't bear to pour out. At 7, my attorney, Grant Ellis, arrived with a folder. "Vivian has already called probate counsel," he said. I gave a tired laugh. "Of course she has." Grant opened the folder. "You can fight her. Nothing is simple, but you are not powerless." I looked at Daniel's chair. Then I said, "Let her have it." He blinked. "You want to surrender everything?" I shook my head. "I want her to think she's winning." Grant studied me for a long moment, then slowly closed the folder. After he left, I cried in Daniel's closet with one of his old field jackets pressed against my face. I missed him. It felt physical. A week later, I found a sealed envelope tucked inside a green binder in Daniel's workshop, my name written in his sharp handwriting. I almost opened it at once, but something stopped me. The next morning I called Grant. By then the gossip had spread through Fairfax. Vivian was telling anyone who would listen that I was being decent. Even strangers in the grocery store gave me pitying looks. Then Grant drove me to Mercer Precision, the company Daniel and I had built together. We repaired hydraulic systems for fire departments, rescue crews, and utility teams. Inside, the smell of oil and coffee wrapped around me like memory. Men and women who had worked there for decades looked up from their stations with anxious faces. "Are our jobs safe?" one asked. "I don't know yet," I said. That night, I opened Daniel's letter. It wasn't long. He warned me to check the blue estate binder, not the green one. He said he had planned for every possibility because an officer never leaves his people unprotected. In the blue binder, beneath tax records and trust papers, I found the truth. The company and the house had been moved into the Mercer Legacy Trust years earlier. Daniel had named me, our operations manager Eli, and a Veterans Foundation as trustees. Vivian owned neither. The hearing came on a cold Tuesday morning. Vivian arrived in cream silk and confidence. Her lawyer talked about legacy and bloodline. Then Grant rose and asked the judge to verify the trust documents. Within minutes, the room changed. The assets Vivian had fought over were not probate property at all. The company had to stay in Virginia, keep its veteran hiring program, and retain most of its employees. Vivian stared, as if the floor had vanished beneath her. Then, the judge read Daniel's private letter to her. It offered her a small cash gift and explained gently that love was not the same as ownership. By the end, her claim was denied. Outside, the employees waited on the courthouse steps. Eli laughed when I told him he was a trustee. Daniel really trusted me? He trusted the people who stayed, truly, I said. The company kept running. The apprenticeships expanded. In spring, Vivian mailed me a short apology, and I put it inside Daniel's binder without answering. On Memorial Day, I brought white roses to Arlington and stood at Daniel's grave while the leaves stirred around my feet. I understand now, I whispered. You were protecting people. For the first time since the funeral, I felt peace instead of anger. Daniel's legacy was not the house or the company or even the trust. It was the lives he had steadied before he left them behind.